Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Hawthorne Law TV. My name is Jim Hart. I'm the founder and chief attorney here at Hawthorne Law. And today I want to talk to you about 3 of the common mistakes that we see online entrepreneurs make almost daily. So every entrepreneur has been there. You've come up with a great new idea for what you want to do, what you want to sell online, and you rush out, you register a domain name, you start blogging, you start doing what you need to do, and then what do you hear? You hear crickets. And that's because most internet entrepreneurs, basically don't succeed. Over 80 to 90% of internet entrepreneurs are going to end up in failure. Unfortunately, I hate to say that. I'm an optimist. I do like to think that everyone's going to succeed and do really well, but the truth of the matter is it just doesn't happen. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that you are in a small minority of internet businesses that does actually succeed. Or you're just starting out and you want to know how you can maximize your chances of success. Well, the first thing you need to do is not make the 3 mistakes I'm about to tell you about. So those 3 common mistakes are, number 1, to not take the time to properly validate your business idea. Number 2, to not take the time to make sure you are not violating somebody else's intellectual property. And number 3, not making sure that you're protecting your own intellectual property. So let's go through those one at a time. The first mistake that I commonly see is this is not a legal tip. This isn't legal strategy. This is just common sense. A lot of business owners just don't take the time to properly vet and make sure that the idea they have is actually a good one. And this is going to be the biggest single cause of failure from internet online entrepreneurs. You rush out there, you've got ready to hit the market, you've got what you think is a great idea, you've done all this work to put it together, to prepare a product, to prepare a service for the market, without actually checking to see whether or not it's something your market actually wants. And so once you spent all this time and money and effort to develop your baby, and then you realize it's a terrible idea, but you don't realize that until after the fact. The better way to go about this is to actually go out there, talk to your market, talk to 20 people in your market, have an interview with them, and see if this is something that actually makes sense for you to do. That's going to increase your chances of success dramatically. The second mistake I see people make is they go out there and they maybe, let's say you've tested your idea. You know what you're doing is a great idea. So you run out, you register a domain name. You don't really put much thought into what the domain name is going to be. You don't put much thought into what your business name is going to be. Or maybe you do, but you just failed to go out and see if anybody else already has that business name. And you put all this time and effort and money into marketing and building and branding your business, and you're doing really well and things are going great. And then what happens? All of a sudden you walk into your office one day to be met with what? A cease and desist letter. And that cease and desist letter basically wants everything, including your firstborn child, money damages, blah, 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 or they're going to sue you. And that's a big problem. So you want to make sure that you're not violating somebody else's intellectual property, and you want to do that before you start going into business for yourself. This is a very simple thing. You can go ahead and you have a great business idea, you know it's going to be good. If you just do some simple searches at the very beginning of the process, you're going to save yourself a lot of heartache. So, I can tell you, when I started Hawthorne Law, there were a couple other names that I wanted to use for the business, and I did a quick search, and there were other law firms that were using the names that I initially wanted. And if I had just gone out there and registered those domain names and tried to do business, I would have been in a lot of trouble for that. So that's something I really want you to think about before you jump in and start your business. Now, the third mistake is they don't properly protect their own intellectual property. So let's say you do have a good idea. Let's say nobody else is using your business idea, and then let's say you just jump in there, and before you know it, you might be getting hit with a cease and desist letter from somebody else that came to the market after you did and stole your idea because you didn't properly protect your own intellectual property. So there's some things that you're going to need to do right at the outset to make sure you protect yourself from a purely legal standpoint. The first thing you do want to do is make sure that you file all the appropriate trademarks, copyrights, patents, anything else you might need to protect your business intellectual property as soon as you practically can. Now, I don't mean as soon as possible. You want to do it as soon as practical, because sometimes it doesn't make sense to do it on day one because you don't know if you have a legitimate business idea. Sometimes you're still in the startup phase. You're still talking to people in your market to make sure that it is actually a good idea. Other times it's going to be a great idea. So depending on how soon you have capital, because obviously it costs money to do these things, you're going to want to file those trademarks, copyrights, patents, etc. as soon as possible. You want to use the copyright symbol immediately to let others know that you intend to enforce all your rights to the copyright if your work is ripped off. You want to make sure all your contracts, your non-disclosure agreements, your employment contracts, your independent contractor agreements, your licenses, your sales contracts, etc. contain language that's going to protect you and your intellectual property and your trade secrets from theft by somebody else. Another thing that you really want to make sure you do is you update your website. A lot of people move forward, but they don't have updated terms of service, they don't have privacy policies in place, they don't have legal disclaimers on their website, and that can get you in a lot of hot water. Not only can it expose you to potential liability from a lawsuit, but also can get you in trouble with the Federal Trade Commission. And you might need to talk to an attorney about making sure what exactly legal protections you need from that standpoint. So when in doubt, obviously, as with every video I post here, I tell you, if you have a question, you're going to want to talk to an attorney to make sure that you're doing things the right way and you're setting things up the right way. Right now, it may seem like money that you don't want to spend, but in the long run, if it's going to save you thousands and thousands, if not more dollars, then it does make sense to do this right away. So thanks for watching today. If you have any other questions about what type of business entity you should choose, how to protect your intellectual property, or just how to protect your brand online, you can check us out at www.hawthornelaw.net. And once again, my name is Jim Hart, and thank you again for watching.